Okay, here we are with the planets. And so here we have the sun, the god of creation. And almost everyone knows their sun sign. It's where, from the Earth's perspective, what star constellation the sun was traveling through at the time of your birth. And so when someone says, I'm a Virgo, or I'm a Gemini, or I'm an Aries, that is your sun sign. And the sun sign is how we shine our light. So consciously, the sun is self-confident, radiant with vitality and dignity, the inner light of the soul expressing itself creatively, really shining that light and finding purpose through that warmth of the sun radiating from oneself. Unconsciously, the sun can be self-centered and arrogant, or lacking humility, or timid and fearful to be seen. And again, this is just instead of being in the middle, in balance, we're looking at being overly egocentric and focused on self, or being timid and not being able to shine one's light. So there is the sun. We'll go to the second planetary, or luminary, as they call the sun and the moon. The moon is the goddess of emotions, and the moon is about our emotional nature and response. The moon consciously expresses herself in the way that we have natural feelings to the conditions of life. And so at times we are going to get angry, at times we are going to feel sad, and it's just the full range of feelings that have to do with that sensitivity. The unconscious expression of the moon can be, if we're overwhelmed and we have unintegrated feelings, we can be reckless or extreme behavior, or we can also be emotionally very shut down and not able to. So as you can see, the planetary or luminary name is at the top, but also the sign it rules and the house it rules are here. This is more of in the end of the Vesta Mystery School workbook. It has the rulerships of each planet with this sign in the house. And that way you begin to understand, oh, the fourth house, it has something to do with all of this emotional planetary energy, even though you may have you may have Sagittarius in your fourth house, or you may have another sign. The fourth house does have this same energy of the moon, and Cancer is very similar to the moon energy. So this is where astrology begins to kind of come together. And it's also a little confusing to learn. So the third important point in the chart is the rising sign, the ascendant. And the rising sign is the point where the first house begins. It's a cusp that is the line that delineates the start of your chart. That cusp has at the end of it a sign that will be not actually in the house, but at the end of the cusp itself. And the rising sign determines how you're seen by others, about outer behavior and vitality. It's about how you express yourself, your approach to life. It's a university of lifelong learning, and the older we get, we begin to embody our rising sign. So the sun, moon, and rising, once you start really learning astrology and you talk to anyone else who wants to talk astrology, that they'll always say, oh, what's your sun, what's your moon, what's your rising? Because the alchemy of those three signs can tell someone a great deal about you and about what you're here learning in life.
So why is it that as you get older, you start to embody the ascendant more?
The sun sign is really more ego-based, and you come in as a child very much expressing those ego needs. And as one becomes refined and more mature, then your ascendant, and it's a relationship to society and others and how you're seen. So that takes time to develop.
Mm.
The moon is also very much associated with the inner child and just the emotional response to life. And as we mature, that develops differently as well. How we respond, emotionally respond in life. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So then we move out here into Mercury, the god, goddess of communication. And as I mentioned in the planetary meditation, Hermes, this is a very androgynous energy that Mercury is the messenger of the gods, and it's about conscious expression of communication. So making connections with the mind and through speaking and reason, also listening. It's all, Mercury can move very quickly because it's the closest planet to the sun. So it sometimes gets speedy. And Gemini and Virgo, the signs it rules, can be very quick signs. The mind can move very, very fast because of its planetary ruler. Unconsciously, Mercury can be overthinking and talking, the mind going too fast and only intellectualizing rather than feeling. So just important to see that planet and whatever sign it's in your chart, that would be your communication style. That would be how you want to use your mind and express as well as listen to others. And then we have Venus, goddess of love and beauty. Venus is an expression of our love and our values. And so consciously, there's affection, responsiveness, devotion, very harmonious, magnetic, enjoying beauty. Unconsciously can be overly pleasure-seeking or vain, indulgent, attached, narcissistic, undisciplined, only looking at outer appearances, things like that. But Venus, what sign Venus is in our natal chart at the time of our birth will tell us the loving style that we share with others and how we may value and work with expressing that love in our relationships. And here moving out to Mars, the god of action. Mars is the courage to act on our desires. So it's about being assertive and initiating energetic action, being decisive with our originality and our independence. So unconscious behavior, and this is kind of rampant in the West, in our culture, aggressive and coarse behavior, easily upset, selfish, forceful, headstrong, and dominant. And that's because we live in such a yang culture. Bringing the balance of Venus and Mars on the chart is looking at our inner feminine and inner masculine and how we can balance those qualities. So, and then we move up here to Jupiter, the god of expansion and learning. And Jupiter is really about exploring our understanding, having optimism and enthusiasm. It rules the sign Sagittarius, and so often this learning is done through expanding to understand the world and understanding different cultures and different religions and different paths, which Sagittarius is very much about. So there's a similarity there between the planet that rules the sign and the house, ninth house, because, oh, this is a travel house, planets there. So unconscious expressions of Jupiter are overindulgence and extravagance with excessive spending tendencies or restlessness, always having to go or always thinking it's always going to work out, or, it's being overly optimistic about everything and spending too much or just not being realistic about time and space. So from there, we need to go out to to Saturn, the god of manifestation. And Saturn is Father Time, Chronos. It's all about self-discipline and patience. Many people know about the Saturn return and gripe about the Saturn return because it's a time period every 29 and a half years where from the time we're born, our first Saturn return is around 29, and then again in our late 50s, it's where we need to learn restraint and acceptance of limitations in order to mature and become more responsible. And if we don't accept limitations in life, we can be inhibited, disappointed, we can try to gain too much control, have an unwillingness to accept limits, which can cause depression. And so all of these planetary energies are here to assist us to become a more balanced human being, and we need all of these energies. Mm-hmm. So after Saturn has helped us to ground and get more realistic, then we need Uranus's help to help awaken our consciousness. And so Uranus, this lightning bolt planet, is about liberation from past limitations, capacity for freedom and independence. It's about electrifying change. Things can suddenly happen when you have different aspects in the chart where Uranus is activated, that there can be a sudden unexpected change in one's life and one's thoughts and one's relationships or life circumstances. But there's always some kind of awakening that comes with that. So unconsciously, Uranus can be very eccentric and irresponsible with ideas and actions, unpredictable, and cause rebellious chaos. It's not grounded and not spiritually grounded. It wants change so badly that it's doing things in kind of rebellious ways rather than more balanced fashion, I guess. And hence it's ruling the sign Aquarius. So Aquarius can be quite the rebel, but also quite unique and bring in a lot of life force after Saturn's crunch. So here we have Neptune, the god of dreams and spirituality, spiritual wisdom and compassion. Its conscious expression is the great dissolver of old life patterns through universal love, unity with creative vision. And Neptune can also unconsciously be delusions and chaos and escapism tendencies, fear and confusion, losing touch with reality. So there can be issues when there's Neptune transits or strong Neptune influences in the natal chart, where someone may have a hard time facing reality. They live more in a dream world. And Neptune can be very spiritual, but also delusional, and it's kind of a razor's edge there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here's Pluto, god of death and renewal. And Pluto's about transformation, embracing the mystery of life and its cycles of birth, life, death, and renewal, soul growth through painful experiences. And we all know about this. As we age, we go through many renewals of our life force, which Pluto is really about the power of our life force. And so is the sign that rules Scorpio, and so is the 8th house. And so if we can't find a way to renew this life force and to want to be alive and to really, like the phoenix, rise out of the ashes of our lower self, it can be a destructive, obsessive, or violent expression that takes place. It can be about unintegrated feelings of deep pain and darkness. And so it's very powerful, Pluto's energy, and it's a powerful thing to work with towards change and transformation. So I'm going to stop here for a minute. And I'm going to stop the recording.